Good afternoon, the Marion Council work session for today. What's the date?
Today is the 4th.
4th of August.
Our anniversary today.
Joe's having an anniversary today, so could you stand in?
How many?
42 years.
I got you.
I know, we're just youngsters at it.
Who's first? Public Services, sir. Thank you. Went to put it on the bottom of my stack.
What the Vegas odds against that one?
These days.
Okay, first item on our agenda, number 2, resolution approving amendments to professional service agreement with Martin Gardner Architects. Right now, Martin Gardner is taking a look at our site plan, trying to facilitate a proposed structure down on our expansion site. We've refined our contract a little bit to just allow us to get a little less from them. Our goal is to present a project to the council here in the next few months that will pretty much encompass the gamut of things we've been talking about. We've kind of taken the scope of their original proposal that we passed here a few months ago and ratcheted down, so to speak. They're going to more or less provide us guidance and assistance through the design stages, as well as provide some consulting services. So, any questions on that?
That's replacing the tent.
Replacing the tent. That's correct. Yep.
The one with the duct tape on it?
The one with a lot of duct tape on it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So, no questions. I'll move on to number 3. Number 3, this would be the first reading of the ordinance to amend the monthly sanitary sewer fees. We've been through this in the past, and I'll put this stuff up on the overhead so everybody can see it. So as of right now, the sanitary fees within Marion are established at $9 is our service charge. It's a flat monthly charge based on each water meter that services the premise. In addition to that, we do have a $2 sewer replacement fee. And then also with that, we have what we call a domestic use charge. That's a charge based on the amount of water that you use. That's broken out per 100 cubic feet, which equals 748 gallons. Right now, we have that set at $1.95. As you remember, in the past, we've been over some issues with the sanitary sewer fees, some disparities in the rates. And for the last few years, we've been increasing the user charge to reflect more of a fair and compensate agreement against what we're going to be doing with the city of Cedar Rapids. How it breaks down, for a resident that uses about 500 cubic feet monthly, it's about $18.75. For a resident that uses twice that, it's about $28.50. And then obviously if you use more, your rates will increase with that. What we put on the agenda was more of a place mark because we want to have this discussion with council. These would be the proposed increases. The service fee under this structure would not change, but we would increase the domestic use fee. That would take a single family residence of 500 cubic feet monthly from $18.75 to $19.50. And then the single family resident, that's twice as much, would go at $28.50 to $30. Now, the issues that we've contended with in the past have been with the disparities in single-family and multifamily residents that have one meter or one water meter attached to the premise. What happens is that the actual use of the multifamily residents is quite a bit less, or they're charged quite a bit less than what a single-family residence would see on their bill. So a single-family residence that would use the same amount of water, in this case, if we initiated the proposed fees, would be $19.50. In a single-family or in a multifamily residence, they would be quite a bit less, $14.75, because they're not paying that service fee that's attached to each water meter. As you remember, we looked at this a few years back, especially in the mobile home parks. We initiated something. So in the past few years, we've been increasing that domestic use fee to kind of catch up on the rate disparity. So under what we have printed on the agenda, and this is where I wanted to have the discussion with council, is that under the current fee, the increase would look like this. It would range from $19.50, depending on your use, all the way up to about $52.50 if you're a very high user. The service fee does not change, but the domestic use fee would increase. Under another scenario, what I'm calling option B, we would look at lowering that service fee. We'd go from $9 to $8. We'd take $1 off of that service fee, then we raise that domestic use fee. And what happens, as you can see, that level 1 user, their charges don't change; they stay the same. They're at $19.50 and then $3.90 per 100 cubic feet. But what happens? Everybody else catches up. You close the gap in that rate disparity. And by doing that, we would essentially start to equalize, or at least be on the road to equalizing the rate disparities with the sanitary sewer fees. It'd be more flow-based. At least this would be the first step in doing that. And so what you'd see is more of an increase among the heavy users and the multifamily residents. Their rates would close the gap between the single-family residents. So regardless of what we're going to do, here's our current rate structure compared to other cities in the state. Still very competitive. We're on the lower end when compared to cities of our size. As you can see, Cedar Rapids and Mason City are the only ones that have lower sanitary rates. So even though we did place mark that option on the agenda, we are going to recommend looking at lowering that service fee and then increasing that domestic use charge that we are proposing to you. So any questions?
That wouldn't change what we're doing with this. You're going to bring that back later?
Yeah, and I wanted to see if the council was comfortable for this, because what you're going to see is that the low-end users, like that's up here, their rates are really not going to be impacted. What you're going to see is the multifamily uses. Their rates are going to go up a little bit more. Not a lot, like we looked at a couple years ago, but you will see an increase in their rates, whereas the single-family residents are not going to be impacted as much.
So will this rate structure get us in line with keeping up with the charges for the sewer?
Yeah, and actually, I'm not going to say this, but I would think this would, for the longest time, like you'd say your level 1 user, you're not going to see a lot of rate increases for them. I would think not. What's going on is that as soon as the new treatment agreement's in place, we'll have to revisit this rate structure again. And if anything, think about how we're going to reduce fees and or get them they're more uniform across the grid.
So this is the one you're probably going to go
Well,
with
I
this?
wanted to see if the council would be comfortable looking at this. Again, that was just a place mark. But the impacts to the single-family residents would be minimal, whereas you'd see a larger impact to the multifamily.
I guess from my perspective, I love this idea because it's getting more towards, just like you said, usage base, as opposed to just a flat fee when everyone's usage varies. It seems much more equitable than what we have right now.
Good? Questions? Okay. Let's see. And then number 4, resolution approving our shared road maintenance agreement with Linn County Secondary Roads. Nothing much has changed there. What we are doing is taking our agreement that we review probably every 2 years. We used to have 2 separate maintenance agreements with Linn County, and now we're incorporating into this one agreement. They were snow and ice removal in one agreement, shared road maintenance in one agreement. Now they're one single agreement. The only thing that has changed is that we have swapped some roadways. We will be taking over maintenance, at least under this agreement, under some sections off of East Robbins Road. These roadways, Heather Court, off of East Robbins Road. Currently, that's in Linn County. What has happened with the new annexation is that we've kind of cordoned off their maintenance operations to where for them to come down here and maintain that just doesn't make sense. And so we propose that we would take over maintenance on that. In exchange, they're going to go ahead and take over maintenance on all of maintenance on Seacrest Road as well as Marion Airport Road. Right now, we do maintain portions of those, but they're out there anyways right now. So we're swapping those roadways, and then they're going to maintain those in exchange for Heather Court. So no big changes. Those are about it. Other than that, it's a pretty standard agreement. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You ready for me, Your Honor?
Sir?
Okay. What I'm wanting to do here is to amend the code of ordinance here when it comes to pawnbrokers and dealing in used articles. What brought this up is I got a phone call from a firm that represents Walmart and Best Buy. Best Buy doesn't affect us, but Walmart it does. And what's probably going to happen in our future, probably this fall, Walmart is going to be into the business of taking in used articles like an iPhone, iPod, or computer into something new. So they will trade that in on the purchase of something newer, on a new project. And they were calling to find out if we had any, ordinance that covered how long they'd have to keep these. Because once they trade them in, we don't know if they're stolen. We don't know what's going on. So somebody could take an item to, let's say, Walmart, trade it in for something new, and they could have just stolen it. Well, if we don't have any ordinance in place, and I'll get to the pawn shops also, then we'll never know if that article was ever stolen or not, because they would never hold that article. And so when I went back and checked with the ordinance, we don't have anything when it says how long somebody has to keep an item that they just buy outright or trade it in. We had something on the books that said they had to hold stuff that are pawned. Well, if you hold something that's pawned, that means that it's used for collateral anyway, and they're holding it anyway until they get their money back, the pawn shops. But there was nothing in there saying that they had to hold an article that somebody would buy out. So in other words, a pawn shop could take something, buy it from you, the next day sell it, or in a case like jewelry, they could meld it to gold the next day, and there's nothing we could do about that. We wouldn't know anything about it until it's too late. So what this ordinance is going to do is make these places hold things for 5 days in case we have a report or something, and we can at least look into it. Because the way it is now, if they buy something or take something in used, they can get rid of it the next day or have it melded down, and we won't know about it until it's too late. This way, they're going to have to at least hold these articles or whatever they buy for 5 days to make sure that we don't have a report of something being stolen. And that way, at least we can get to them.
Is melting down a term of art?
Yes, Joel was when he gets gold, like somebody comes in and they have like a ring or something that's made out of gold, he can melt that down the same day because there's nothing in the ordinance says that he has to hold it, and once it's melted, it doesn't matter if it's stolen; it's gone. It's there's no way you can find out. So he was doing everything legal. There's nothing he was doing illegal. But what I'm saying, I want him to hold that ring for 5 days before he gets rid of it, or before he melts it down to make sure that what he bought was not stolen.
But I was thinking if we also need to cover like deconstructing like cell phones or whatever, I don't know, can you take them apart and do different things with the different parts?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Does that need to be covered too?
Yeah, this is something that I got with Don on, and so we can, do whatever we need to. But I think, what I was worried about when I first got this phone call, because I forgot about the ordinance, this is something I feel we overlooked a long time ago. I think the pawn shops and these dealer and used should always hold something before they can just get rid of it, because you never know if it was stolen. Well, thanks to this person calling, we got woke up a little bit, and now we're going to, do what I think we should did years ago. But what I was worried about with Walmart is somebody would bring in something stolen, one day get money for it, or have it traded in. They don't own it anymore, and then Walmart would get rid of it, and we would know nothing about it, and it's gone to wherever until it's too late. And I just want them to hold it for 5 days, and after 5 days, if they haven't heard from us, then they can do what they need to do with it. And same with the pawn shops.
Will that cause an increase in paperwork for your department then, or?
No, there is a leads online that everybody uses, including this firm, including Walmart. So they would just put this on Leads Online, and that's something we pay for annually to have. We just get on there and check it. So there's really no paperwork at all. All this does is make everybody hold things for 5 days when they buy something or something's traded in. That's all it does.
Okay.
Yeah, Chief, is our, I don't care about Walmart, but is our independent business pawnbroker aware of what we're doing with this? And where is he with it? I mean, he's a pretty good operator, I think.
Yeah, Joel, he knows, whether he knows what we're going to do with this, I don't know, but I told Corey, who works with Joel, that this is going to go forward. I doubt, that he's going to have too much issues with it, but Joel's Joel. I really don't know. And be quite honest with you, to be right up front, I really don't care because I need him to hold things. I don't want him buying something and then selling the next day and there's nothing I can do about it. If he can hold it for 5 days, that's not going to cause his business any more problem, if he has any problems, than he already has.
No, his biggest problem is that if it is stolen, he loses it. That's his biggest problem. Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Look at all the stars this guy's got on there. What?
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll start with just item 2 happens to be highlighted. I didn't know if anybody else had any questions on that third reading on the stormwater utility. We've had a couple questions about it. We've tried to answer those. If you recall, one of the explanations I guess I gave was that originally the recommendation for our stormwater fee was greater than what was adopted by council. We did reduce it to be comparable to Cedar Rapids at that time. So we felt that it was important that we stay comparable with Cedar Rapids as we go forward, also because it helps us fund those projects that we thought needed to be funded in the original recommendation. So that's kind of the basis of our moving forward with this slight increase over the previous fee. Next item is item 3, which is 3 and 4, which is public hearing and award of the contract to Eastern Iowa Excavating. Oops, sorry, wrong one. To Trey Electric for $38,200 for the advanced warning device project. This project is at Highway 100 and 151, not at 151-13. I think there's some confusion there. We had recommended both intersections and linear. However, the DOT did not approve those other installations, so we are only doing Highway 100, or proposing to do Highway 100 and 13, or Highway 100 and Seacrest, and Highway 13. The bid did come in. We only received one sealed bid. It was $38,200, or about 25% over estimate. We still feel that because of the size of the project, this is still a pretty comparable and marketable bid. We are recommending approval of this. It's well within the budget that's been set aside for the project. Questions on that? The next item is the award of and approval of the contract with Eastern Iowa Excavating for the 35th Street and 29th Avenue intersection project. As you saw within the digital packet and on your desk is the timeline I prepared for past actions for this project, going all the way back to 2011. As you can see, it's been an ongoing project. We are still recommending award of this project, even though it's 13% over estimate. We still feel that it's a marketable bid and recommend that we do that. Questions? Okay. The next item is item 9. We did skip number 8. It's highlighted, however. That's just an acceptance of the Squaw Creek Meadows 6th edition. Next one is deferral of sanitary sewer hookup fees for the Country Club Estates 11th edition. This original request was for storm and sanitary sewer fees. We do recommend and feel that the sanitary hookup fees are probably a good recommendation to defer based on the fact that lot will never be developed. It'll never have sewer hookup. So we feel that it's a $720 fee that we feel could be set aside for the developer. We're not supporting the stormwater fee being deferred, as developers typically pay stormwater fee on the entire preliminary and final plat, so it's not really out of the ordinary for that situation. Anybody else? Questions on that? Next item is the item that we have previously talked about. I did notify all of these TAC items, all the adjacent owners that we're proposing no parking. This one is on 3rd Street, or 13th Street and 8th Avenue. I don't know why that doesn't want to focus.
I know my eyes have really gone bad.
I couldn't tell. So right now, the no parking goes back to about this location here. We're proposing that it be reduced down to 80 feet, which allows about 60 feet of parking. We did notify Mr. Lennox. I don't know if he's here or not. They were asked to come on Thursday. He may be here to talk about this. We've not received any response whether he's okay with this change or not, but we are recommending that we add parking on the west side, not on the east side.
Where is all of his parking located? All of it?
My understanding is that this is his parking here, and this is his parking here.
What business is there?
I don't know that I can answer that. Tom, do you know?
It's a tea room, and then there's well, you'll have to ask my wife. She goes there all the time.
Gift shop?
It is.
The gift
yeah.
shop, and he has, what, 2 renters upstairs, I think, or 3? Two.
The thing is, see the cars on the right? That's Farmer State Bank parking.
On the
And
way
you really
right.
can't see
Yeah.
here, but this is another parking parking lot for Farmer State Bank.
Mhm.
And so what they had asked last week was to park on the east side of the street, and they recommended that to be turned down.
Yeah, this was denied last meeting.
So they've come back and said, how about the other side? And the reason, the 50 feet is to encroach on the stop sign.
Yeah, this being the narrowness of the pavement and the busyness of this intersection, we feel that the traffic coming southbound should have an opportunity to get closer to the curb when they approach the intersection. So we'd like to continue that no parking here to corner back 80 feet.
And what are you talking about, 5 parking places in there? 6?
60 is only about 3.
3? Is that worth it?
We thought it was a good compromise compared to what he was asking for. It gives him more parking. It doesn't give him parking adjacent to his business, but we're hoping that people would be able to walk across the street to get to his business.
So to give him 4,
no
you'd
different from
have
anybody
about
else downtown.
60 feet to the stop sign, maybe.
80 feet, we're actually asking for no parking 80 feet back, which allows another 60 feet of parking.
Right, but I'm saying if you gave him 4 parking places, that would drop that 80 down to about 60.
Yeah, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with that transition, but if that's what council would like to do, that's fine.
I mean,
80 is our standard.
We don't really have a standard.
Don't have a standard? Yeah.
how many customers at a time do they have?
Well, there's 2 businesses in there.
Well, it sounds like he has some apartments as well that are needing parking as well.
4 is reasonable.
As a business, he's supposed to be providing on-site parking for his business. I'm not sure if he's actually adequately doing, well, I know he's adequately doing it per zoning. I'm not sure if he does it for his business per se.
Okay.
If we wanted to amend that Thursday to allow him to have 4, would that be?
Yeah, you could
amendable?
amend it to 60 feet if you'd like.
Yeah, okay.
The resolution's currently written as 80. You could change the motion or the resolution to 60.
But does that
Thinking, what,
reasonable in your,
I don't think it's necessary. There's plenty of parking in the neighborhood. I like to make that safe condition for those people approaching the intersection, but that's your
I
prerogative.
mean, I think that should be priority, is the public safety and the,
Yeah, I don't know that it's up to us to provide parking on street for his residents or for his business. I think that that's his job to provide that.
right, I mean, when you determine how you're gonna use your property, I mean, that, the availability of parking should be a consideration.
Yeah, I don't want to give up any perception of safety there, but just to add one more stall.
You think cars parked there would block the vision of someone pulling out of the bank parking lot, turning to the right?
Oh, I'm sure it would. Yeah, any kind of on-street
Yeah,
parking.
I'd
affects
think
the
that could be a
visibility.
problem.
not if you're driving your Mustang, Paul.
Well, yeah, that's true, but.
That house in question, I went there in 7th grade for a Valentine's party, and we played Spin the Bottle. Just thought I'd throw that little bit in.
I thought maybe you were there when it was a stagecoach stop.
I couldn't be. You beat me to it.
Go ahead.
Any other questions on that item? Okay. Next item is item 11, which is the establishment of no parking on the south side of 3rd Avenue from 130 feet to 310. This is a slight variation. I went back and read the letter, and better, I guess, and really looked at what he was recommending, or that they were requesting, I guess, and I'm recommending now at this point, is that this actually, I show this line of where it would be. There's currently no parking at this driveway about from here to here. What they're requesting is no parking from basically this property line or the power pole that's there down to this area here. I would agree with that. I would also maybe think that there might be no parking would be a benefit back to the intersection. However, we're not recommending that at this time, just from 130 feet east to 310 feet east, which is basically from here to here on the south side. It would help with traffic through those intersections, through those curves.
So how narrow is that, where those two cars are right there?
Real narrow.
The pavement here is 25 foot wide.
That's pretty narrow.
Well,
It's some of our narrower.
yeah, they're kids, you can't get through, because
Yeah.
you can't see what's coming.
Yeah, you're having a lot of parking in through here when kids are being picked up. There's no parking on the north side already, so it would really help with the congestion in here. I think it's going to push the parking farther out into the neighborhoods, but because you're still going to have parents picking up their children. But I think it's a good change. I also sent letters to the adjacent owners here, and we did not receive any responses. Although this person, I think this person all signed the request, so they're all kind of involved in that. We did send to the school and to 2296.
Yeah, that's fine.
And they were all invited to come Thursday, so they might still be here. Other questions on that?
So is that two cars, though? Are they parked out there, or is that what those are? Right
Your
there.
driveway?
Here?
No, that's not.
Did
Yeah,
you
that's
say-
two cars in the driveway.
Oh, it's in the
The
driveway.
curb is right here.
Oh, okay.
Not in the right
Because I see the sidewalk. I thought that was the curb up way up
Yeah, you
there.
can see the right-of-way. This is actually the right-of-way line here.
Huh.
So it does not really conform to the street. So there actually is room for them between the curb and the sidewalk to park in there.
Wow, that is narrow. Is that over by you, Mary Lou?
Oh, it's up a couple blocks up,
Downhill. Downhill.
both ways.
Okay, anything else? Next item is item 12, which is the establishment of no parking on the south side of Second Avenue from 2400 to 27th Street. The request was not specific about where they really wanted no parking. I don't know if I can get any closer to. We are proposing on the south side mainly because as you come out of the driveway here, you can see that the traffic flow here is lines up with the south curb. So if we put parking on the south side, no parking on the north side, this traffic would end up coming out and going around a parked car right here, which it may do now, but we don't really want to continue that. So we're recommending that the south side have no parking and then remain parking on the north side. We did notify all the owners over to 27th Street. I had one call. He suggested that we close this entrance at the school and allow them to only go out on 3rd Avenue. I told him I'd pass that on, that I would think we would have to do some kind of extreme process to close that for them, but I think they use it quite a bit. It is one way in from the north and one way out from to the south, so I think it gets quite a bit of traffic. They do have a gate across it that they periodically lock. I think it's locked now while school's not in session. Anything else on that? The next item is item 13.
So does TAC agree with that no parking then? Is that what you're saying?
Pardon?
Does TAC agree with this no parking on the south side then?
Yeah, I send out a request. I tell them what we're going to take to council, ask for responses. If I don't get a response, I assume they concur. That's kind of the process we take. We're all really busy, so it's not like we want to have a meeting or something. So I think it works out pretty well. It gives them the opportunity to comment on what we're doing.
Okay.
The next item, item 13, is a request for a deer crossing on 10th Street north of Linn-Mar High School. We do not have any deer crossing signs in Marion, and I feel that in a low-speed location like that, I don't really feel it's a need. I think TAC concurs with that as well, that we would not add deer signs or more sign pollution in that area. We're recommending denial of that.
I was under the impression that the traffic that goes through there is going pretty fast.
The speed limit actually goes 35.
35.
Quite a ways out, and then it goes to a 45. Depends on what you consider fast, I guess. 35 is, in this area, I think is what it is.
Which they'll go 10 over. And,
Well, it's posted 35, so.
well, it's posted 35, but, poor dear.
And it's 25 was just north of Tower
Yeah,
Terrace.
it drops to 30 or it's 30 most of the time in front of the Linn-Mar High School there. And it drops to 25 when children are present, and then just north of there it jumps to 35, just north of Tower Terrace, I think, there. And there's
What's the definition of children present on a weekend?
Actually, we went around this. Any child present within the right-of-way at that location, 24 hours a day, you need to be at that speed. We actually, Harry, the police chief, went to the Attorney General and requested a decision on that. And that's the decision we received, was that the child in the right-of-way, on the sidewalk or someplace in the right-of-way, you have to slow down to that speed. Otherwise, you do not.
How can we let the populace know that that is the reading? How do we do that?
Well, we can put something on a website, and I can put something in my newsletter.
Mhm.
That gets to a few people.
Yeah, I'm sure no one knows
City
that.
newsletter?
I mean, if we didn't know that, they
Just,
don't.
you could just have a speed zone, assuming there's children there, and do away with when children are present.
If we did that.
We have not done. We've not done school zones because that affects 24/7, and it really slows down traffic when there is not a hazard. So that's why we have gone to the when children present. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking here, but at least we have a reading on what it is now, whether.
When we did the one in front of Oak Ridge, I don't know, it's been 4 or 5
Right.
years ago,
Right.
that's when we got that decision, or that interpretation, or whatever you want to call it, that would be the reason. Harry's guys were trying to figure out who to ticket and how to ticket and everything out there, and we wanted a clarification on it, and that's what we got, and that was back, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
There are no sidewalks there. Those kids, if they were walking along the road, would be walking along the side of the road.
Yeah, anywhere in the right-of-way would require you to slow to the speed.
I have to ask Dan, how are you going to enforce making the deer only cross right there? Can we enforce that?
If you can catch them, you can give them a
Turn
ticket.
them the other way, Joe, for the deer can see.
The last item has to do with our new bike boulevards. Planning and Public Service have been working, engineering's been involved too, with BPAC to sign and symbol our latest or our first bike boulevard. Within that, signs within the right-of-way have to be approved by TAC and by council, so we want to make sure that we got through that process in case there was any questioning about it. We do have one of these signs you can see upstairs on the second floor. They are rather big, but this is the recommended size by the biking establishment.
It's initiated already because it is on Geode Street now.
The symbols are down. I don't think the signs are up yet.
Signs are not up.
We're waiting on the
Under
signs.
ordinance, you gotta
Okay.
approve that.
Now we have the signs on the road, and we have signs that
Legends.
should be approved. Okay.
Yep.
What does that mean? We've got signs in the middle of the road now, bike boulevard.
A bike boulevard allows, well, really anywhere in Iowa, a biker has the right-of-way over a vehicle. And this just brings to a better acknowledgement by the car driver that this is a share the road condition, that bikers of any type can be within the travel lane and progressing ahead, that the vehicle must halt or yield for those bikers.
Talking about bicyclists, right? Bicycles?
Bicyclists, yes. Sorry.
Yes, not bikers.
I've been biking. I've been biking for 30 years, and we're always called bikers, but yeah, I know there's a difference. People on bicycles have the right-of-way. This just establishes that. This is part of our overall bike and trail, Marion Master Trails Plan, which has all of our bicycling facilities on it, and this is part of that build-out for that plan.
Well, that one sign said that the bicyclists could fill up the entire lane.
Yes, they have as much rights within the travel lane as any car. So if
Well,
you're
what happens when a bunch of them get together and decide, well, we're just going to slow up traffic?
If they're causing a congestion, I suppose a policeman probably could request them to move on.
Is that
but-
before or after somebody goes through and kills somebody? I mean, I think bicycle riding is fine, but doggone it, the way some of these people ride their bicycles, if you drove a car that way, it would be bad.
But you can pass them. Really, they are like
Yes.
an automobile, so you can pass them if it's safe.
Some states have a safe passing distance. So I think I'm just going to use Florida. Florida, I think you have to be 3 foot horizontally away from the side of the bike to be able to pass around them. So you have to go into the other lane.
But what does Iowa say?
Pardon?
What does Iowa?
I don't
There
know.
we are. Okay.
I can get that for you if you'd like. I just happen to know that. I just happen to know that law.
These bike boulevard signs are in the middle of the road.
Yes.
There's no lane. They are in the middle of the road. I just saw them today. So
That's where the manual on uniform traffic control devices actually calls for them to be 11 foot off the face of curb to the center of the symbol. The ones on Geode are. The ones on Third are slightly to the right. So they do meet that manual for recommended distance.
I believe Kesha is going to be doing a little presentation on bike-friendly community here in a minute, and she's kind of been working pretty closely with that process. She probably can address some of the concerns. on the bicycle
You were just one
boulevards.
down, right?
So she managed. So anyway, she might.
Yeah, maybe she can help you out there.
That's fine.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'm just an engineer, not a planner.
Yeah, we'll get to the meat of the matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The last item, item 15, is a concurrence with the contract for the construction of Central Corridor project from 26th to 31st. We've been working with plan preparation for this with Genesis Equities. Within that memorandum that Lana has prepared provides for them to do contract for construction of the project all the way eventually from 13 to 31st. As part of that, we're trying to move ahead with portions of that, and part of that is to get the sanitary sewer, some of the clearing and grubbing, some of those portions of the contract that are easily done this fall that will get us in preparation for pavement next year. This was recommended actually or requested by the builder, Abode Construction, to allow them to do that. They are the contractor of choice by Genesis. They have submitted a partial bid. It's not a formalized bid. It's more of a quote, I guess I would call. On those items, there's 23 items that are proposed to be approved by council. We are currently reviewing and have not completed the review on those 23 items to make sure that they are market value or lower. We will make a recommendation on Thursday whether or not you should approve those. Before Thursday, I will send out an email or put on the computer those recommendations by item.
Have those, okay, those are recommendations. Has this already been bid?
Not been bid. We have requested quotes.
Okay.
Council will consider MOAs Thursday or anything. We've been working with Genesis to get this project moving forward. This is just one step of several that we're requesting. As we do these MOAs, the developer usually, well, almost always picks the contractor to do the construction. We just do a recommendation to council on whether they are market value or not. Typically, we end up, I think we save the taxpayer money based on what we end up paying for those construction.
Okay, so by doing this, though, we do have a set amount that we have we are looking for to spend on this particular project?
Yeah, you will be concurring with a contract for $364,318.30 within the resolution.
Well, a few
But
memo-
but go ahead. But that is for what portion of this whole?
That is only for those 23 items, which includes
I
sanitary
see.
sewer items.
Which we will
clearing and-
see.
Yes, we're behind. We're getting a little behind on trying to get stuff to you on it, and that's why I just wanted to talk about it tonight. And we'll have everything before Thursday. If you're not comfortable with that, we'll table it and move on to the next meeting. But
Fine. All right.
Now, a few meetings ago, the planning coordinator said that we would have to obtain 22 properties.
this portion from 26th to 31st we have picked because all the acquisitions are they're not completed, but basically completed. They're with Genesis and what else?
All these pieces are actually inside the existing right-of-way. Weren't acquisitions or easements that were required to do this piece.
Right, I think that we have the right-of-ways, what you're saying, so we
Yep.
can continue because we have the
do not
right-of-ways.
have it. The 22 he was talking about don't include the piece that's Marion Iron and a couple of the others
Okay,
that are
now-
within the development agreement.
Now, when those come up for sale, I presume they come up for sale, is the city council going to vote on this?
Always do.
No, not
No.
acquisition, not necessarily. We
All
got two houses-
acquisitions are approved by city
We
council.
got two houses up on 29th Avenue that were not approved by the city
Do you have that
council.
date?
Sorry, but that is absolutely not true.
No, we approved.
You purchased with the approval of either the mayor or the mayor pro tem. That
I
was
do
that was
purchase
the-
agreements with the approval of the mayor or the mayor pro tem. The acquisition comes through the city council and always comes through the city council. We can give you the resolution numbers that those were approved by if you like. But I take it personally when you say that I'm going out and buying properties without council approval.
No, that's, no,
I
no.
am not.
We approved this. We approved this.
And
Yes.
That's fine.
the current Pelling contract, is that the 31st?
The
There-
Pelling contract, yes, part of the HMA, the 2015 HMA project, yes.
Yeah, that'll end at 31st, and then this.
Yeah, those two, we're laying down just short or just over the next project so that we can make them bind together.
Good, thank you.
Right, fine.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, planning, you have you have 3 items, you can pick one.
Thanks, Jane.
You guys get off easy tonight. It's just me for one, and then I'm going to bring up a couple other people to talk.
I understand.
Gonna read the comp
I
plan,
understand.
right?
Section 4 of the comp plan. No. While he's getting that set up, did anybody have any questions on the electric specialties site plan specifically? I'll show you some illustrations of the project. This is final site development plan for electric specialties being proposed out in the MEC. It's pretty straightforward from a building footprint perspective. Partners Avenue, Medco Drive, so this is on the south side of the MEC. Building to be located on the corner, 2 access drives proposed. You can see there's detailed landscaping. We're going to have sidewalks extending out to the sidewalks in the right-of-way so that it'll be very walkable. Adequate parking is provided. Additional area has been identified for future expansions in the preliminary. However, you'll see that go away in the final site development plan, except for there still is some parking. Staff perspective, everything's in line. Planning Commission's recommended approval, and I'll show you the elevations.
Is that just north of the park, the new park?
North and east.
Northeast?
A little bit further
Yeah,
east.
keep going. All right.
So, sorry. So here's the new park area.
Yeah.
So this is the location on the
All right.
corner.
Yep.
Directly adjacent to Arctic Insulation. Yes. Yeah. And then the elevations. So you're going to see from the front side, you'll see this elevation from Medco Drive, or from the, if you're on the west side of the property looking at it, this would be the entrance off the, from the, this is north, this would be west, sorry, and this is west.
Look at that. What are we doing?
I see the site plan again, Tom.
It's just up there. There we go.
You mentioned sidewalk.
Yeah.
That would be, in fact, and we have a request later here, the first sidewalk in existence on Partners Avenue and 62nd Street, if you're talking about a sidewalk like that.
Yeah, so the side, there are no sidewalks up in that area at this point. So pretty hard to go say, hey, put this piece in as a part of the Victory Gymnastics, yeah.
Right. Same with the letter we got on the gymnastics.
Yeah, yeah.
There are no sidewalks. Yeah.
Correct, but out here we've kind of made the, I think council and everybody's kind of made the decision to move forward with the sidewalks as we proceed, so.
There's a whole bunch of them. One I know very well.
Sure.
That have been delayed.
Yeah.
Sidewalks, agreed to put in when we get to that phase, but I think the one I'm thinking of is not alone. I think probably that whole area.
Correct. And that's generally how we've looked at it, is if there's a whole area and it's an industrial area, that it's you'll recall the gentleman brought forward the proposal for a storage garage on 8th Ave.
Yeah.
Same situation. If there's no sidewalks in the entire area, it'd be more about doing it as a project and having participation and going into and providing that as a whole. In this instance, though, there's no deferral being proposed, and we'd like to see it go in with the development, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody have any questions on that? It's been reviewed against the development standards of the planned development, and I know the council got a copy of this, but you're looking at some exposed fastener roofing, so it's going to have a metal roof. You're going to have some stone on the on some exterior sides. We've got horizontal cement board going on some of the sides, and then some industrial metal paneling as well. So, this is an area where there's not the highest degree of standards out there, but still we're getting that I think very professional look in these buildings, even just having the minimal standards in the tier 3. So I think everybody's respecting the fact and building the buildings out to a really nice elevation, which I think is great for that area, and I think it'll show down the road. So.
What will they have for, like, trucks going in and out of there, or?
I'm sorry?
What will they have for, like, vehicles, or will there be semis or anything like that?
I think they did say they were going to have some deliveries, but the way that they've got their property situated, they'd have an entrance and an exit. And I don't think they were full-size semis backing up. There's an overhead door, but I think they were for smaller.
Yeah, that's what
So they can come in and exit. Nick might know, but do they have full-size semis coming through there?
They do. They don't utilize any dock doors
Yeah.
per se. They offload to the side of the semi.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of semis out there because you have a trucking company out there.
Yeah.
There's not a dock or anything like that on that.
There is one overhead door, but I think it's more related to the larger cargo vans opposed to a semi-tractor trailer.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. It didn't appear to be set up to have semis.
Yeah,
That's why
if it has a door like that, there's specific standards that they have to meet. They have to be able to turn the vehicle around.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a nice addition, that company.
Very nice, very nice. It's exciting to see that area build out. The next item, Your Honor, if you'd like me to move on, is discussion regarding bicycle-friendly application and communities designation. I'm going to ask Kesha to kind of give a little presentation on that.
Good afternoon. A little too heavy. Just wanted to walk through, reminder of what we've done in the last year since the last time we submitted the bicycle-friendly community application. So I'll do brief synopsis, and this is discussion item right now. If the council sees fit, we'd have a motion directing staff to submit the application on Thursday's agenda. But I'll go through this quick. So what does a bicycle-friendly designation? So this is an application to the American League of Bicyclists. That's a nationally known agency that communities, businesses, and universities and states can all apply to receive this designation. So what this designation does is, it's free to apply. And so what you've got is you've got staff and BPAC's time invested in this. What they do is, based on our submittal, we receive feedback as far as what we could be doing better. Do we need more on-street accommodations? Do we need more bike parking? Do we need more education opportunities? So they definitely give us feedback on that, and it's specific about what we could be doing better. Given the designation, we can use that as a marketing tool. They have the level of honorable mention, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. There are people that receive platinum, very few of them, but there are communities out there that have received that. It's helpful in grant applications. Obviously, we've gotten a number of grants over the years for that. This will just put another feather in our hat to when we'd apply for those. And it allows us to be competitive with other Iowa communities. Right now, I believe Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, and Des Moines have bronze designations. Marion and Dubuque have both received honorable mentions, and so that's always, you can strive further. And so what are the economic benefits? I mean, there's definitely benefits beyond just being able to bike to work, having a safety. There's economic benefits as well. The Iowa Bicycle Coalition did a study in 2011, and they found that the state of Iowa actually receives $51 million, over $51 million for commuter cyclists. So that is everything from gear from biking to additional items that they'd purchase en route or when they get to work, and over $364 million in recreational spending. I mean, again, that is not just the helmets and the tires and everything, but that's also the stops. That's the apparel that you'd buy online in stores. And then another $339,000 worth of volunteer time. There's a number of cycling groups out there. If anybody wants to be involved, I can let you know. There's a number of them in Marion, in the Cedar Rapids metro area, but they also have a lot of volunteer events that they do to try and get people out there. Looking at this from what do we receive back for our dollars spent for trail funding, North Carolina, there was a regional area in there that they put about $6 million into a trail, and they found a 9-to-1 return on what they had invested in their trail. And then Indianapolis, Indiana also found that homes closer to the trail were sold at a higher percentage than homes that were, half mile or more away from the trail. And so there is some economic benefit to trails as well, just not the health benefits. And so my green got shrunk. So basically the background I alluded to, we submitted in August 2014, so just a year ago. They do have fall and spring submittals. So we received an honorable mention then. So they've given us some feedback from that, and for the most part, we've implemented a lot of it. And I'll go through the next steps as far as what we've done in the last year. And so we received a grant through the Rotary for 6 bike racks to be installed in city parks. We've got a long ways to go, but I'll take 6. And we also received a $2.4 million grant to redo the Seymour bridges. Ryan's marked out about a mile of Bike Boulevard between 3rd Street and Geode Street. Hawkeye Bike Association actually came to us, and so this is one of the biking groups that actually came to me and said, we'd like to pay for these signs. We understand that there is some sort of financial commitment when we do these projects. We'd actually like to participate in that. And so that's a way that the biking groups are getting involved as well. The City Council approved a complete street policy. Tom and I worked with Lynn County Public Health, Cedar Rapids, and Lynn County to receive an active transportation grant. And then the underpass is being constructed currently, and the Bike to Work Week activities, we had a mayoral proclamation this year. So those were a couple new things that we've done in the last year. So what's included in the application is a pretty comprehensive application. I mean, they get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Just a couple examples from an engineering standpoint. They want to know complete streets, connectivity. They want to know how many road miles you have, how many miles of bike lanes, sharrows. I mean, what do you have and where are they at? What the speed limits are, where those are at. So it's pretty in detail. Education, they want to know, do we have safe routes to school programs? What kind of public awareness are we doing? Encouragement, obviously they want to know what kind of rides we're having to get more riders out there. Enforcement, obviously, are we enforcing the laws to have cyclists obey the same laws as cars? And then evaluation, what is BPAC doing to figure out where we are, what we need to do? So who fills out the application? Staff. This year we took an approach that, I went through the application and said, I'm not quite sure I know this information fully. So I sent Tom Dobbs with the police department, I gave him a list. I said, can you look these over? I sent the engineering department lists. I sent the parks department lists. Basically everybody that I thought had a good understanding of some of the sections, we sent those out. So that was a little bit more than we had done last year. And then we also went through this. It took us about an hour to walk through the application, so I spared you guys that. But looking through, is there anything that we missed? Is there anything that we've done? And so that's something added to last year. And so should the application be turned in, we don't obviously stop there. We wait until November to hopefully hear back of a bronze or better designation. But then the next step, in the next year, we'll still be going strong as far as organizing more rides, providing more educational opportunities. The bike boulevards provide the perfect opportunity for people to ask questions, get educated as far as it's okay to share the road. The roads are not meant for just cars. Bike parking requirements, that's something that we're working on with the zoning code update so that you're not just providing for car parking with new developments. And then more bike accommodations as far as completing the underpass, more on-street markings, and so that will be something that I will be recommending or bringing forward with BPAC approval as far as more paintings, more signs. Construction of the trail from Highway 13 into the uptown area that would tie in to 35th Street. Seymour Trail and bridges, that funding will hopefully go out for design this fall. And then Indian Creek Trail, that one's a couple years down the road, but those are some bigger projects that we'll anticipate doing. Any questions?
Was anything looked at for making Marion a destination for bikes to come here, for bikers to come to Marion for something?
And that is part of having the on-street accommodations, the connectivity with the Seymour Trail. We're hoping to bridge that gap between Marion and Cedar Rapids to have a completely off-street or set aside area for cyclists to get from point A to point B. And that's something also with the Seymour bridges, the two old railroad bridges that we've received the grant to redo. That's something that we'll be bringing back forward to the council as far as what can we do to those bridges to make those a gateway feature that really says, we encourage biking and we want you to come here too.
I guess I was thinking more of businesses or something like that, was it Jonesy's or something?
One of the interesting things is, and I'll use Cedar Rapids as an example. If you go downtown Cedar Rapids on the weekend, I would say, even prior to the flood, you wouldn't see the bikes that you see in downtown Cedar Rapids now. They've made it very bicycle friendly. They've got cutting edge use of the green paint that's used in Portland for bike lane accentuation. They put bike lanes in most of the street systems in the core of the community. Bike parking, they've just made it very accessible for folks that want to go down there and ride a bike. And it draws. It means something that when people ride, or it means something to people that ride bikes when those accommodations are granted. Parlor City is a big place to go on a bike. It's right off the trail. All you have to do is make those accommodations. It's just like a sidewalk. You hear a lot of, there's no one uses that area anyway because there's no sidewalk. Well, build the sidewalk and they will use it. You see it all the time. It's very similar. What we need to do to position ourselves to become somewhat of a bike tourist town of that nature is you got to provide opportunities for people to get here on bikes. And I think we're making great strides. The funding that we've received from the CMPO through trails will get us the connection to downtown Cedar Rapids. So someone in Marion can go to downtown Cedar Rapids on their bike, mostly on an off street trail. And likewise, people from Cedar Rapids can come up to Marion. And that's going to be a big deal. That will be a very key point in make Marion because you think about the towns that are destinations, they're generally not big, huge towns. You'd think of Sutcliffe's a big bicycle place. Solon's become that way too because of the new brew pub. And they've made it very accommodating. Ely's same way. I think Mary Lou, you and I had talked a couple meetings ago. The High Trestle bridge over by Des Moines. There is like 3 or 4 communities there that the economic development that's incurred in those towns because of that trail and that bridge, it's huge, huge. I'd love to know the percentage, but it's like double digits. It's a big deal. So yeah, that's ultimately what we can do is through implementation of our plan.
Okay, so So back to the question then, what you're implementing would make this a destination then? Like, have people from Cedar Rapids want to come to Marion then?
And the connection between Marion and Cedar Rapids was one of the most talked about issues when the Master Trails Plan was being created. Is where's that connection? We want to get up to Marion. We want to be able to ride in Marion. We just want to have a safe and solid route to get there.
And so that's what I'm thinking is there part of the plan, is it to make a business want to locate on that trail then?
It's more of a if you build it, they will come type of scenario. It's Madrid.
Yes.
By the High Trestle Trail, and I had at a trail summit in June, I actually spoke to their engineer and a representative of the towns near the High Trestle Trail, and they said that they've had 2 or 3 eateries go in, brew pubs, eateries, that people just on the weekends. It is a very hot spot, and then from the restaurants, it's in addition, you're going to have the bike shops come in, you're going to have, a number of other opportunities that come along with that.
Okay, well, thank you.
So basically, you're saying Trail of Dreams, build it and they will come.
I like
Trail
that.
of Dreams.
And did anybody have any more questions about bike boulevards? No?
You have a boulevard.
I thought Dan was doing a good job, so I didn't want to jump in and steal his thunder. So, okay.
We did talk with regard to the bike boulevard. So we did talk because we're getting some Facebook requests for information on that about trying to put together, like if we can find a good video on it or something so we can place it on the website to give people a reference to. Because I'm sure folks that don't ride a bike probably don't know what a bike boulevard is. It's pretty cutting edge in the biking world. I think we're what, the second, maybe the third one in the state? We're second in the state.
Second to Des Moines.
And we thought we were going to have them, but it didn't work out. But nonetheless, I do think an education part of that's a great idea. And we were talking about it this afternoon and trying to provide some information online, maybe get an article in the Gazette or the Marion Times.
Good, thank you.
Don't get in front of Mary Lou.
I had the last item, number 8. It was a quick update on Ordinance 1411. This was passed last year requiring developers to install sidewalks within a certain time frame once they begin the subdivision, not to have them hanging out for 15, 20 years. We've just kind of begun, obviously, that with the new ordinance. But what we did, and directed by council late last year, was start going after the older subdivisions. So we kind of broke this down into, try to block them into groups of years. And right now we went back and looked at all lots that were basically 15 to 20 years old and lots that we've had a lot of requests to have the sidewalks installed. So we're looking at some really old subdivisions. And what I wanted to update the council on is over the last month and a half, you've received and filed several requests for deferrals of requiring to install those sidewalks. The council hasn't acted on those yet, and I'm going to have those at the next meeting or 2. But I'm looking for a little direction on what the council's thinking so I can get back to those folks that are requesting those deferrals so they can at least know where they're coming from when they come into the meeting to talk about their deferrals. And I really have one important one I think we need to discuss tonight, and I'd like to get back to J.D. Slaughter back on it because, again, he's looking for some direction. I think everybody's familiar with Indian Creek across from the country club. Country clubs over in this location. They're hard to see but there's 4 lots. They're represented by stars. These are 4 lots. This one on the south is about 16, 17 years old. And these up on the north are developed within the last 10 plus years. So a little newer than what we're looking at. But these are areas that don't have sidewalks. JD has submitted a letter of deferral on behalf of his father. And there's a few other owners that have requested deferrals as well. They just don't want to put sidewalks in yet. Reason? Well, they're going to sell that lot next year, put a house on it. Those lots have been for sale since they were developed, and we're still kind of waiting for sidewalks in this location. There's no sidewalks on the other side. That is the country club side, developed back in the 40s. Sidewalks were not a priority then on that area. So our real need is to capture sidewalks on this west side. kind of hard to see, but if I zoom in, you can actually see, I call them the cattle paths across those yards. And you can see it on the other one as well. All those folks have indicated they just don't want to install them because they're afraid they're going to get busted out when construction occurs, which sections of them will. The whole thing, I doubt it, but portions of it will. That's a cost to them they have to pass on, of course, on the sale of the lot. This is just one area that, again, they've all submitted deferral requests. I'd like a little direction tonight, I guess, if what the council's feeling on these, so I can get back to those folks and get those deferrals on the agenda for the council to act on if that's their desire. Again, these are 4 of the 21 total lots, I think, that we were working on, but these are the ones I've received deferrals on so far. Again, no sidewalks anywhere on the other side of Indian Creek until you get up to probably 25th Avenue or so, just north of the Country Club. Is there opinions, desires to, what should I pass on to these folks? What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
I guess from my perspective, I would vote against any deferral. I mean, they've been there for that long, and especially on this street, there's enough sidewalk traffic on this that, in my opinion, sidewalks need to be there.
Well, I think where you have a path, there's some indication that, you know.
When applicant deferred, he said, I'd like to defer because I actually mow a path and I actually shovel a path, so it's obviously he recognizes it's being used, but.
Yep.
And with hole number 1 on Indian Creek paralleling that road, it would be dangerous to have a sidewalk on that side. So, you know, I think, I realize John isn't in the best of any health, but those lots have been there for sale. I thought they were sold, truthfully.
I think 2 have been sold and 2 of them are still owned by the Bussey Schlotterback group.
I think it's time. Yeah.
All right, well, I'll pass it on to them. We'll have those deferrals on a future agenda. I mean, they'll have those deferrals on a future agenda, but I just wanted to get back with them. In terms of response to our...
Go ahead.
Sorry, Joe.
That was similar. Put your map back up down by the bridge, you know.
Yes.
That was similar to what we did, you know, on the west side of the Indian Creek Bridge right there, that there was a path there.
Yeah. There was a distinct path. I mean, granted, in that situation, they could cross the street, but I know we have a lot of walking individuals.
So I think if there's a path, you know, a cattle path there, I think that's a sure sign that something's needed there.
Yeah. The other deferral request I wanted to discuss briefly. Oh, I should point out some of the. Well, I'll point out the other deferral requests first, or the other 2. And again, I just got to get back to them and give them some indication. This is in Hunter's. This is in Hunter's Ridge, north of the clubhouse itself. Single lot. Again, this lot's has existed between 15 and 20 years out there. It's got some issues with it. That's why it's still sitting for sale. The owners again he's requested a 1-year deferral. Sidewalk is complete on the other side of the street, and he's looking for a 1-year deferral. Again, we'll have this one on the agenda either next meeting or meeting after, but again, I'd like to give him some heads up if there's any strong desire for a 1-year deferral or not.
I would again vote no. He's had about a 15-year deferral so far.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I guess I had 2 more, I guess. This is McGowan Boulevard, 2 lots owned by Jim Dyer. He is also requesting a 1-year deferral. He has offered, though, as part of that, he did this up on 29th Avenue in Winchester, I believe. He'd like to install the sidewalk down to McGowan and provide the crossing at this location. He'd like a 1-year deferral, again, on these 2 lots. These lots were not in that 15 to 20-year period, but it's one we have gotten calls on, again, over the years. You can see the cattle paths on those lots as well. And this is McGowan, so it is a busy street. Okay,
I'll say the same thing again.
Okay. I had one final one. Requesting deferral. Maybe in here. Oh. don't know how engineering keeps track of all their sidewalks projects. I've just got like 21 lots, and I can hardly keep them straight here. Oh, there it is. This is the final lot. It has a deferral request in. The 34th Avenue, or 33rd. Barrington Parkway's to the north, Tower Terrace is beyond it. This is Hand in Hand Daycare. This is the Mac Express. Linmar's off to the east. Have a single lot remaining. It is owned by this homeowner. Has bought the adjacent lot. Again, obvious cattle path there. This is a newer development. They've requested a 1-year deferral as well. I think they are financially at a place where they have to kind of sell a lot to help them along. So they're requesting a 1-year deferral for the sidewalk, hoping to get it sold and get a building permit issued on this lot within a year's time frame. So.
Are you saying that has just sold? I mean, they just purchased
No,
it?
they purchased it a few years ago.
Oh, it's a few
years ago. And I think they're at the point now where I think they enjoyed the lot, but kids are getting a little older and they don't want to take care of it anymore. So I think they'd like to get it on the market and get it sold. And then obviously somebody will buy it, will issue a building permit, then they have a year. I mean, so it could be a 2-year. Sidewalk could be 2 years out, worst case scenario, but I think they're pretty motivated to sell this lot now for development.
So when you say they came and they asked for another 1-year deferral?
They have asking for a 1-year deferral, yeah. They have a request. The council received and filed that request a few months back.
Yeah.
I just kind of been holding them to try to get a bunch of them in one council meeting instead of keep doing this piecemeal.
So is this another? I mean, they've been doing this every year.
They've never asked for a deferral on this lot.
This is the first one?
First one, yeah. And this is the last lot in this development. I guess the original, and they are not the original owners of this home either, but not that makes a difference. And
where is this development?
oh, I'm sorry, Mary. Yeah, 10th Street is right here. You have Hand in Hand Daycare, the Mooney development, Mac Express and that stuff. I guess Etzel's Farm's right there. So it's right kind of south of Barrington Parkway and stuff.
On that one, I would think if they're actively trying to sell the lot, I would think they would let them defer it for another year to try to sell it. But
I'm hoping to have these folks, when I get it on the agenda, I'm going to let them know, and they'll hopefully come here and they complete their own case. I just wanted to give them, again, a little heads up as they come in, so they're not.
at least to give them a chance to sell it, and then, because a developer may have to rip it up to build.
And this is a new, of all the lots I've shown you, this is the newest lot. This lot's within the last, maybe 6 years now, maybe? 7
This
years?
one, I guess, I would disagree with Joe, and I would still say
10?
that they need to put it in. Because, I mean, realistically, all of them are actively trying to sell the lot. And this one, again, there's a cattle path. There's a lot of kids on this street.
I'll let them know as well, and they can come and make the case. Along with that, I want to finish up. This has actually been it's run fairly smooth. We have had a lot of compliance. We still got some folks that are just ignoring the letter, as I expected. Mr. Cooper, the city did this project last year. And Mr. Cooper completed the connection to the south on this remaining lot. So that kind of completes a complete loop now for those folks up off of Boyson. We've had, the argument is we've had 2 lots that are in excess of 15 years old. They both had building permits issued for them this year, so it does happen. So those lots will get built with those sidewalks will get built with the building permit. So, these old lots do sell as you go out new development. Some of the lot prices are getting well in excess of $40,000, and some of these folks are finding these lots in town or a little more inside the center of the city for $30,000. So it kind of makes a difference in letting them build.
Has made that his yard. I don't think he's.
So I'm going to have probably the next meeting. I'll probably have all 4 or 5 letters of deferral on the agenda. Invite those folks in here to again plead their case for their deferral.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Marlene.
Quite a few years ago, it was discussed that when a person got a lot or an area or whatever they're going to develop, rezoned,
Yes.
if it wasn't done within a certain amount of time, it reverted back to what it was originally.
Yep.
That never got passed, did it?
The council and staff, we've talked about that, I mean, probably every other year, and we've just kind of been spinning our wheels on it. I mean, we've never gotten a real clear direction to proceed with that or not.
It would probably screw a lot of people up tax-wise, but I think, it would encourage the development rather than just letting it sit there.
Yeah, we try to, well, and I know now today, if somebody comes in and says, I want C3 zoning, okay, why, what are you doing? Bring your proposal with us, with your request. I mean, not even 10 years ago, somebody came and says, I want C3 zoning. We were like, okay, here's your zoning, and it stayed with them, and they never had a plan in place. But today, you can't come in and just ask, I don't know what I want to do, but I know what I want. I know I want zoning. We're not recommending approval of those projects anymore. I think the council's been really critical of folks that just come in and say, I want blank zoning without a vision for it. So, which is a good step, and I think going forward, that's definitely the direction we've got to keep going to prevent that. So.
Dave, another quick question for you. Kind of going back to that property on 33rd, where when it was originally sold, they had 2 lots. They fenced off one of them to make it a yard.
Yep.
Do we have anything as far as the code, or is there anything we can do for anyone that buys 2 lots, doesn't plan on building on one, to make sure that a sidewalk goes in at that time?
As long as they keep, today, I mean, if it's older than 5 years, we can obviously make them now with the code, but as long as they keep it as 2 separate lots, it can stay like that forever, really, unless directed by council to do something about it. A lot of times they'll buy, you buy 2 lots, and a lot of times they build their house with their kids, and then 10, 15 years later, they build on the other lot they bought, a house that's, back on a main floor, et cetera. But sometimes they'll buy 2 lots, they'll combine them into one parcel, then they have to do the sidewalk with the building permit. But as long as they keep them as 2 separate parcels, the only thing that triggers sidewalk is building permit or the council passing a resolution of necessity requiring the sidewalk installation. And again, all these lots that I've shown you today, the original developer, when they got their final plat approved and the council approved their development agreement, they knew that the city council at any time, whether it be 1 week after approval or 10 years after approval, can require that sidewalk to be installed. So that's something that the original developer agreed to. Granted, now we're seeing 4th, 5th owners of property sometimes, but that agreement does go with the future property owner. So, I mean, these are things that should have been recorded. These are recorded. These do go with the property. So, the agreement's in place. The city council can ask at any time. It's just about, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. And I think, and these are the deferral ones, or the ones that are a little on the bubble in terms of what, should they be done or not. So.
Thank you.
All right, well, all these will be on a future agenda, and again, those folks will be here to
Good, thank you.
plead their case.
Make sure I do this right. One of these days I'll figure out why it doesn't just duplicate my screen and gives me 2 instead. Okay. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is I wanted to take some opportunities over the coming council meetings to kind of go through with the city council some of the background and history of some of the projects that we've got going on. I'm concerned because there seems to be a concerted effort in the community to spread a lot of rumors about some of these projects. And as we've seen just today, they aren't based in fact, and I think the best thing the city can do is just put the actual facts and numbers out there so the people can see what some of these things are actually going to do. One that keeps coming up, and not just here, it comes up with other questions in conversations with school board members and things like that, is the impacts that the Central Corridor project is having on the Marion Independent School District. And to really understand that, you've got to go back into about 2009 when we first created the Central Corridor TIF District. The Central Corridor TIF District replaced what's called an urban revitalization area. And under an urban revitalization area, any business that did any kind of an expansion could automatically qualify for a property tax exemption on what they did. And it was a step-down exemption for 10 years over a period of years. When we replaced the urban revitalization zone with the urban renewal zone, we had stated at the time that it was our intent to be able to continue that so that businesses would receive some incentive or some benefit for doing their projects. The first two that came through and applied for that were Farmers State Bank when they did the renovations of the old City Hall, and then Hannah Plumbing and Heating when they redid the building when they moved in just a couple of blocks south of City Hall. Now, those two buildings got a tax exemption, but it started out at 80%, and then it has stepped down throughout the years to the point where now they're only receiving 40% rebates on their property taxes. So as we started to do that, Marion Independent School District actually started to see benefits right away, because these are projects that needed our assistance to get a little bit of a kickstart to make sure that they worked. And so what we did is we went back and looked, and this chart shows you starting in 2011, the first year that these property taxes increases actually hit the books, how much additional property tax Marion Independent School District has received that they would not have if we hadn't done these projects. So they're almost $44,000 ahead of where they would have been if we hadn't done these projects. Now on the flip side, we have been doing some property acquisitions, and we've been tearing down some buildings, relocating some businesses, and those really started. The first one that was a major one that we did was Eastern Iowa Construction. That was the one we did the longest ago, and you can see that starting in 2013, those numbers started to come off the books. So we had about $44,000 they've received. At the same time, they've lost about $18,500. So there's still a net positive benefit to the school district. Now here's where it starts to get interesting, is that these are projects that are only existing projects. But this includes ones like Phillips Diamond Shop, the Maid-Rite Building, the Capitol Commercial Building at 1204. This is the cumulative total of all the existing projects, not any of the ones that are contemplated or being talked about, like the one up on 11th Street with the parkade and the mixed-use one, or any type of redevelopment down on Marion Iron. And you can see that between now and 2030, Marion Independent will receive about $1.4 million that they would not otherwise get, because those projects are projects that would not have happened without the city's help, or if they had happened, they would have been much lesser projects, and we would not have had the opportunity to specify what the minimum assessment was going to be that those buildings were going to have to agree to in order to participate in our process. Now this chart estimates the total amount that would come off the books for Marion Independent with all of the Central Corridor acquisitions. So at the same period of time, again, existing projects are going to add $1.4 million. They would lose $801,000. So between now and 2030, they're going to be about $600,000 to the good over and above what they would have gotten. And that's just what we know today. That doesn't include any of the major redevelopment projects that are being considered up and down the corridor. Now, it's kind of hard to show because it goes over time with some of these things happening. All the properties don't come off the tax rolls right away. But cumulative impact so far has been they're about $25,000 positive. This last chart that I want to show you really shows over time what's going to happen. You can see at the very beginning here in the early years with those projects coming along before we started doing any property acquisitions that their tax base was going up. The amount of taxes that they were receiving were increasing. As we started to do some property acquisitions, that number starts to come back down to where it's neutral. The greatest point, the most they would ever lose in any one year is about $37,000. To give you a little bit of perspective, that is 0.0047% of their property tax asking in any given year. So put another way, it's less than half of 1% that we're talking about the impact that the Central Corridor project will have negatively on Marion Independent School District, and that is for 1 year. All other years, the impact is lower than that. But the total net impact, and again, I can't say it enough, this is of the known projects, just what we have agreements on today and what is out there today, is going to be $631,000 positive between now and 2030. These are all based off actual assessments, based off the values of the properties that we're going to have to acquire and the taxes that they're paying now. This is something that anybody with access to Lynn County Assessor site and a little bit of ability with a spreadsheet can go out there and study and duplicate. It's not speculation. This is hard numbers. I know there are folks out there that would like you to believe that what we're doing is going to be devastating to the Marion Independent School District, but the fact is that simply is not the case. The greatest impact we are ever going to have is less than 0.5%, and that is for only 1 year. And overall, to give you a little perspective in real numbers, by the time the TIF agreement expires on Phillips Diamond Shop, that's one of the biggest ones that's sitting out there. That'll expire and be done in 2023. At that point, we will have acquired all the properties that we're going to acquire. The total amount that would be coming in is $73,000 per year to the good. So there's a swing in there. I would say that probably 2017, 2018 is going to be the bottom of the trough when they're about $38,000 down. The next year it'll be reduced to $23,000, and then by 2019 they will be back in the positive column again, and it just starts to go up from there. So, and then before we get on to the next item, again, just to...
On a question on that, the development that we're looking at for like the Marion Iron side and all that, that doesn't include anything that would be occurring in that, right?
This does not include any new tax base created on the Marion Iron site. It doesn't include any new tax base created on Prince Ag, on the USDA site, the north side of Marion Iron. It doesn't include the proposed project here in the Uptown. Doesn't include anything happening at the library site. I actually did run some calculations on those numbers just to see what that really does, because I mean that's really the goal behind all of this, is to take underperforming properties and bring them in and build the tax base that way, because Marion Independent, as a nearly fully developed district, doesn't really have any other opportunities to build their tax base. And for example, based on the projections for, say, the library project, the hotel, and the 11th Street ramp, those projects would, if they were all done at the same time, they would all come online tax-wise in about 2019. They add $808,000 in property taxes that does not exist today.
So that would be in addition to the $630,000.
Yeah, and of that $808,000, Marion Independent gets about 46%, so they'd get about $400,000 of that. And that's all, again, as I said, taxes that don't exist today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I can do this or not, but just wanted to, if I can. can draw this across. No, it doesn't want to let me do it. But in any event, the purchase of 3501 29th Avenue was approved on Resolution 24,050 on the 4th of September 2014, and the purchase of 3495 29th Avenue was approved in Resolution 23982 on the 7th of August 2014.
Council. Are you on council now? 14?
You moving down to number 4?
Yeah, items
Okay.
4, 5, and 6 are really all extensions of the same thing, and these are follow-ups to existing agreements that we have regarding the relocation of 3 companies from the Central Corridor over to Industrial Center East along 3rd Avenue. As part of that, all of these companies are going into buildings that are substantially more expensive than the ones that they were in. And in order to make sure that they are not harmed by making that transition, one of the commitments that we made was to phase their property taxes in over time so that they'll end up having the ability to build their business up over time, take advantage of inflation, and aren't just going to move into a new building and get forced out of business because they can't afford the property taxes. So there's phase-in schedules for all 3 of these companies that would basically allow for them to go from where they are now, what they were paying in property taxes, up to where they'll end up at with the new assessments over a period of years. It's simply a matter of wanting to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that they have the opportunity to stay in business after their relocation.
These phase-ins, were they part of the agreement? Were the years noted in the agreement?
They were not in the original agreements because they were all intended to be written as addendums to the original agreement. For example, like in the case of Marion Iron, the development agreement has to specify the property. At the time we did the original development agreement, it hadn't been platted, the legal description didn't exist. So now that it does, and now that they own it, now that we can move on to doing the agreement with them to allow for the phase-in of the property taxes.
But these agreements can be any agreement, the phased agreement that we would propose could be different from what they propose. We could negotiate this out.
Yeah, we've figured out phase-in proposals for all 3 of the companies that have been presented to them, and it's still a net gain for the community on property taxes because they all went into undeveloped sites, and even the amounts that they were paying at their previous sites are higher than what those properties were paying before. Like in the case of Marion Iron, the amount that they would start out at on the new property is about $10,000. Before that property was developed out, it was paying around $1,600 a year in property taxes, so it's still going up considerably. But again, we're just trying to make sure that we hold those businesses harmless for as long as we can on the relocation. And I'll send out the phase-in schedules for everybody so that you have a chance to look at them. The maximum that we can impact it is 20 years, but it really comes down to what the new value for the property is established at once the county assessor is done. We've got the number that we'll start at, and then it'll just go up a couple of % per year until it reaches the new number.
So when will we have those schedules?
I'll send them out tomorrow.
Any other questions? No? That's it? Good. Anything else? Adjourn.